Hello, my name is Katie Fisher, and today I'll be presenting my 5E math unit titled Fractions in Real Life. This unit is designed for second grade students and focuses on helping students understand fractions through hands-on real-world learning experiences. Throughout this presentation, I'll explain each phase of my lesson, why I chose each activity, and how the activities build on one another to help students develop a strong understanding of fractions. So, the big idea of this unit is that fractions represent equal parts of a whole, and students will learn to divide objects into halves, fourths, eighths, while connecting the concepts to everyday situations like sharing food, um, measuring ingredients. My goal was to move beyond memorizing vocabulary and help students discover math ideas through exploring um, real world hands on things before introducing formal vocabulary and concepts. Okay. For the engage phase, I wanted to play on students' prior knowledge using something familiar. So I showed students a picture of pizza and would ask how four friends could share it fairly. Instead of teaching fractions immediately, I wanted students to share their own ideas about how they could share the pizza fairly and equally. Discussing it aloud and with other students helped connect the lessons to experiences they may have had with friends or family while creating um, and being curious about how math describes equal parts. I chose the approach because students, I think, are more engaged when they can relate what they're doing to their own life, real world experiences. During the explore phase, students were asked to work in pairs using paper pizzas, scissors, and challenge cards. They had to figure out different ways to divide the pizza fairly without being told what the correct answers were. My role as the teacher was to ask guiding questions instead of giving solutions or correct answers. The inquiry based approach, which is part of the 5E model, encourages problem solving, collaboration, and reasoning. It also gives students ownership of learning because they find and discover important concepts for themselves. In the explained phase, students were asked to share the strategies that they discovered during the exploration phase. We discussed similarities and differences between the answers, and we also addressed common misconceptions, things that I heard while walking around, or things that students shared. Um, for example, thinking four unequal pieces are still fourths after students explain their thinking. Then I introduced the formal vocabulary for the lesson, including whole, equal parts, half, fourth, and eighth. Um, Connecting the vocabulary to the students' own discoveries helped the concepts become more meaningful instead of just memorizing the definitions. So next is the elaborate phase, which was really fun. And I think if I was teaching this, it would have probably been the funnest phase for me. We had, or I had the students apply, what they learned in a completely different context by following a trail mix recipe, um, using one half and one fourth measuring cups. I wanted the students to see that fractions are useful outside of the school and in everyday activities like cooking. This lesson also integrated math with health and science, and it encouraged teamwork and communicating. Um, and I think that I would probably extend this lesson to actually make a trail mix in class and send it home and have the students teach their parents what they learned. So the final phase is the evaluate phase. Throughout the unit, I used formative assessments, such as observation checklist, um, self-assessments, and exit tickets to um, monitor and check for student understanding. At the end of the unit, the students completed a performance task where they planned a pizza party by dividing pizzas into equal parts and explaining their reasoning using the vocabulary that we covered. They also, like I said, completed a self-assessment to reflect on what they learned and show or identify areas where they still needed support. The combination, I think, of the assessments, the formative and summative assessment provided more of a overall picture of students learning. I wanted to touch on best practices. Throughout this unit, I intentionally incorporated several best practices for instruction. Students learned through hands on activities. They worked with other students collaboratively, with partners, discussed out loud with me, uh, and discussed their mathematical thinking and connected fractions to real world solutions. Um, and then I also included ongoing formative assessments to help guide the instruction before the final performance task. And I think those strategies help to create an engaging classroom where students can actively have autonomy and construct their own understanding. To reflect on this whole unit, designing it really helped me better understand how the 5E instructional model creates a natural progression. And I think something that stood out to me was being a preschool teacher for so long, there's such an emphasis on learning through play. And I think that gets lost once they go to public school or elementary even, and being able to this I feel like has notes of that. It's really hands on. They do get to play while they learn, and so I think this is a really good uh, instructional model to be able to go back to that way of thinking, learning through play. Um, I learned that students benefit from exploring ideas before they get the formal instruction. And again, meaningful learning happens when students build on experiences. One challenge was designing activities that encouraged discovery without giving students the answers too quickly. That's going to be something that I'm going to have to work on. In the future, I do plan to continue creating lessons um, that emphasize critical thinking, curiosity, uh, collaboration, and focusing on real world applications because I think those experiences help students develop a deeper and better understanding of math. Thank you for watching my presentation. This project really helped me appreciate how thoughtful lesson planning can create meaningful learning experiences, and I'm excited to use the 5E model in my future classroom.